The threat that gambling poses is increasing because of the way that it has become a digitalized commodity, the way that the companies are using data and data surveillance methods on their consumers and have very sophisticated methods of targeting individuals to get them to gamble and to get them to continue gambling. We see the expansion globally. We also see that the expansion globally is then not supported with strong regulatory protections. And because of those two things, that creates a situation where we do think it's alarming. We do think there is a threat. And we do know that for certain products, for example, our data showed for people who play online slot machines, 16% of that population were experiencing problem gambling. Like, this is not a small number. This is a lot. This is a substantial proportion of your player base experiencing harms, and that's one of the growth sectors globally. So when you have that evidence and you have weaker regulatory protections, it does create an alarming situation. With respect to children and young people, we know that they are a particularly at-risk group for the experience of gambling harms. One of the things that we did was that we reviewed gambling legislation globally, and there is an almost universal recognition that minors, children, should not legally be allowed to gamble, that they should be protected from the commercial gambling industry. Now, whilst that's a recognition, it's not very well implemented in many countries. So, for example, we saw in some African nations, they have that principle, but nobody's enforcing it. There's no regulator to enforce it. So actually, children can access these forms of gambling. So the first thing is that you need to implement really strict and stringent age verification processes. And you need to have a really strong regulator to actually make sure that the gambling companies are following this, with a whole systems of fines, revoking people's licenses if there are failures. So what we would like to see is a set of minimum regulatory standards that all countries adhere to, so that you have the same experience wherever you are living. And those would be things like making sure you have either prohibitions or restrictions on advertising and marketing, things in place to limit how much people can actually lose when they gamble, making sure that there is free or a very affordable treatment available for those who are harmed, and then probably also supplemented by public health campaigns to make people aware of the risks of gambling, and to denormalize gambling.